River and go.
Well, good morning, everybody. Just gonna do a little quick weather update here for you, and then we'll let you get back to sleep. But if you're probably hearing a lot of thunderstorms pushing through the area right now, a lot of loud claps of thunder and heavy rain. The good news is, so far these storms have really not been that bad as far as severe limits. I actually came into the station here for a few minutes. The storms were getting pretty close to Wichita Falls, and they were looking pretty intense. We've been tracking a couple of storms. There have been some up in Oklahoma, and this storm right here that's moving through Stevens County, had some warnings on it earlier. Heavy rain and maybe a little hail with that. Most of the severe weather aspects with any of this stuff would just be small hail and some pretty loud claps of thunder. This is a thunderstorm moving through Wichita Falls, producing a lot of heavy rain. In addition to that, a lot of loud claps of thunder. There may be some very small hail with it. And also, we've been watching some areas of perhaps maybe some gusty winds down here to the south. And those winds appear to be pretty strong, perhaps maybe across northeastern parts of Archer and southeastern Wichita County. Maybe even some very broad, weak rotation in there. These storms have had a history of spinning a little bit. But thankfully, that rotation has mostly just been well above the Earth's surface, and nothing has tried to drop down below these clouds or below the storm. So no tornado warnings, not as of yet, and that threat remains on the low end of things. Not too concerned about it, but can't totally rule out something isolated here or there. But mostly just looking at heavy rainfall events pushing through, some maybe again some hail, maybe looking at even a little bit of hail trying to pop up there, just kind of near the west part of Jolly. A new storm was actually formed on the south side of this over the northeastern parts of Archer, moving right at Jolly and the Dean area. This is going to pass just north of Lake Arrowhead and just north of Henrietta. No severe warnings for this as of yet. If we take a look, let me take a look at the Weather Service real fast and make sure there's nothing there. And so far, nothing from the Weather Service here. But again, there is some pretty gusty winds, perhaps maybe within this, in addition to the very heavy rain we're seeing. We'll put this into motion. You can see where those reds and greens kind of mix up. And notice how they're kind of bowing out, how that red kind of bows out there into that green. That does indicate perhaps some pretty strong wind gust here showing up basically in this. And we'll see if any of these green colors can wrap around. If they can, then there may be an opportunity for something to spin up out of this. But as of right now, that is not the case anyway, but we'll keep an eye on that and make sure nothing changes with it as it makes its way over into northern Clay County. There are some storms that are kind of weaker on the backside of that near Lake Kickapoo now. Those are kind of falling apart. There's some other storms down to the south near Abilene, but that's going to merge with this line of storms that's moving east. It's moving east pretty fast. That line is moving through Vernon at this hour. And it looks and it's bowing out too. No warnings along that line yet. That's probably because those storms are mostly what we call elevated, means their bases are a little bit higher up in the atmosphere there. So you're not seeing a lot in the way of those strong winds reaching the Earth's surface. So those storms, that line of storms will continue to progress pretty quickly off to the east. Probably into Wichita Falls, maybe about 2:30 somewhere in there. And with that line, again, heavy downpours and some gusty winds and some loud claps of thunder. And then that'll kind of march its way eastward overnight and into the early morning hours. And we look back to the west, and there's some other showers trying to pop up back west. And there could be some more showers even lingering into the morning hours. We're keeping an eye on these storms. There's some storms that developed out ahead of the main line. They have, again, they've had a little rotation from time to time. As of right now, mostly just some gusty winds showing up. But you can kind of see within this, and you'll have to just kind of keep an eye on it, you can kind of see where the greens kind of wrap back into the red a little bit. So you got the reds pushing out. They're moving in this general direction here. And then you got the greens kind of moving towards the radar, so that's kind of bowing back in a little bit. So you do have some stronger wind gusts that are going to be moving into the Jolly area and then maybe up towards Dean and Petrolia. In addition to the very heavy rain and maybe some small hail too. And we'll see if any of this wraps up and tries to become, tries to show any signs of rotation. But as of right now, that does not appear to be the case. But if anything changes, we'll be sure to let you know on that. We'll be doing updates if we need to. Of course, the team is in the office now. We got Cameron and Jaden. We still believe that the biggest threat remains heavy rainfall. This is the round tonight, and there's been a lot of heavy rain up into central and southwestern Oklahoma. Places up there already picked up 4 or 5 inches of rain in some of those areas. The heavier activity, again, will be off and on for the remainder of the night. And then we'll get perhaps a couple waves again tomorrow into tomorrow night and early on Monday. Some severe weather, but again, heavy rainfall is the main concern. That line of thunderstorms, maybe some gusty winds with blinding rain, and then we'll watch these cells that are out ahead of it. But so far, they're not too bad, and we'll see if they try to show any more signs of trying to rotate or spin or anything like that. As of right now, not too bad. I'm going to look at the weather service real fast, and they're not even mentioning the storms down here for whatever reason. So we'll just let it go at that. Let's see if there's any questions here. Yeah, there's no reason to be nervous, Katie. There's, again, these are mostly just some pretty good downpours moving through and some loud claps of thunder. Nothing tornadic is associated with these storms at this time. I'm keeping an eye on it, though, for you. Well, I don't know what you mean, missing Wichita Falls. That storm actually just went through Wichita Falls, and then we got the line that's going to come through a little bit later on. No, I don't think so. They're really, Brianna asked, do we need to worry about tornadoes in Bowie? I don't think so. I think it's just going to be mostly just heavy rain with that line that pushes through later on tonight. Any tornado threat would be very, very low. You know, like I say, these have been, they do show signs of rotating from time to time, but most of that spin has been aloft. You walk outside, and while it is warm and it is humid, we don't have a lot of winds at the Earth's surface down outside. It's not real windy out there. So we believe that might be one of the reasons why these things are not spinning down to the ground. So, yeah, I know we're watching it. We got that. It's just right now it's just kind of lined out with those winds, pretty much bowing out there. I was just talking with Cameron about that. So, but again, nothing. The weather service didn't even say anything about these storms down here. So they're apparently not too worried about it. Sometimes they'll be watching them and they just won't say anything about it. So, but main concern with that cell, and to me, it's just below severe limits, or it looks like it to me. Heavy rain and gusty winds. Main concern with that is just moving through Dean and Jolly right now, and then we'll head up towards Petrolia. Heavy rain now in Charlie. Then that will cross the river. It's going to go northwest of Henrietta. We'll cross the river, head up towards Waurika, Lake Waurika, and maybe eventually into Stevens County. So we'll have to just kind of keep an eye on it as it happens, as it moves in those areas. And you got some thunder showers trying to come in behind it there, but so far those are not. Those are, look like they're kind of falling apart and kind of weakening quite a bit. So looks like the radar is getting laggy for some reason. I don't know why, but we'll continue to watch this and make sure nothing spins up here. But as of right now, so far so good. But I mean, I will say that this does have it does bear watching anyway. We do have the greens, and the reds. It's kind of broad rotation. It's real broad. And you don't really worry about a tornadic circulation until these colors and the rotation starts to get tighter. When it starts to get tighter, the winds get stronger. So right now, just some broad rotation in that thunderstorm, and these storms have had that broad rotation at from time to time at night. But again, so far, these storms have not produced anything outside of mostly just some heavy rainfall. And there's a lot of heavy rainfall with a lot of this here too. But keep an eye on this storm. If you're up towards the Dean area, the Jolly area, Petrolia, Charlie, and let's just make sure that nothing out of the ordinary happens with it. But right now, it looks like mostly just some really heavy rain. And then back towards Vernon, heavy rain pushing through there with that line of thunderstorms right now. Heavy rains, and there's probably some gusty winds in there too, but the winds as of now don't look that incredible. Maybe some gusty winds coming into Frederick. You look down to the south, and there could be some gusty winds perhaps with that line headed towards perhaps Seymour, in addition to the very heavy rainfall. And once again, that line of thunderstorms, probably about maybe an hour and a half away from Wichita Falls, and then again, that's just going to come through with some heavy rain and maybe some gusty winds. So. But once again, we'll keep an eye on it for you, and if we see anything that we need to alert you on, we'll be sure to do it. Let's see if there's anybody else got any other questions here. So, and y'all are very welcome for the updates. Of course, it's time right now is 1:03 a.m., and we will, of course, it'll be 1:03 a.m. and again in an hour. So what time of projection? Elizabeth, that line of storms in Wichita Falls, I'm going to say about 2 to 2:30. Go, Katie. You can go to sleep. It's now east of Wichita Falls, and it's real broad. It's nothing to worry about. These storms have been doing this all night, and they'll do this and then they'll weaken and it goes away. There's nothing that's super organized. So, and I believe a lot of it's because there's just not a lot of wind at the Earth's surface. That's probably what's limiting it. I bet. I don't know that that's the reason, but they've had pretty intense structures, and they just haven't been able to, haven't been able to produce anything severe, thankfully, or much. Now, there is a severe thunderstorm warning coming into the Frederick area, and that's probably because of the strong wind gusts. You can really see strong winds coming into Frederick now. Let's see what the Weather Service is saying about that one up that way. Strong inbounds right at the site, severe coming soon. Let's see if there's anything. Gust. Yeah, there's some really strong winds with this part of the thunderstorm line here headed right at Frederick. You can really see those winds here. Some strong winds, kind of bowing right into that area. So that's just your strong wind gusts headed right into Frederick. That's why there's a warning up for that area. So you can see some really strong winds in those areas. We can kind of go down the line, and that's probably the strongest part of that thunderstorm area. Outside of these thunderstorms that are kind of east of Wichita Falls at this hour. So you can still see some broad rotation in there, but nothing that looks too ominous at this point in time. So that's the good news. So, all right, well, I'm gonna drop this off, and Jaden and Cameron are gonna keep an eye on it for you here. And if anything goes on and we need to cut back in for anything, I'll be sure to do so. So I'm gonna jump off this Facebook Live though, and you're in good hands with Cameron and Jaden. Quanta, the thunderstorm threats are now over with for you. And nope, the thunderstorms are through Kroll now. You're good. Just some heavy rainfall, like I say, after 2 o'clock here, 2 a.m. Just some heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds and loud claps. But there's going to be some loud thunder. You're going to see that for sure. So, that's something you're definitely going to see. So, the line lowers the severe threat. Right. The line doesn't lower the severe threat. It lowers the tornado threats. You can still see tornadoes within the line, but usually they're very, very weak, quick spin ups. But in this type of situation, we really don't think that's going to happen much. So mostly just heavy rains and gusty winds with that line. And these are somewhat supercells out ahead of it, but they're not. They really haven't been too bad so far, so that's good. So I'm glad you got that 2 inches of rain in City View. We need as much as we can get. We should get a lot